Welcome back, Fenn family, to another episode of the House Husband Diaries. As always, I am your host, Carter C., and we have moved into the month of April. So we are more than 120 episodes into the House Husband Diaries, and we are still going strong. Still have yet to find Forrest Fenn's treasure, but I'm pretty sure most of you aren't pulling for me to find it, right? We're trying to help you find it. So we'll see where we go from there. But today's episode is part 3 of Where Warm Waters Halt. Now, we're going to get right into it is there a riddle or a deeper meaning within the poem? And the reason why I started asking this question is because of the interview that Forrest had with Charlie and On the Road with Charlie, Part 1, May 8th, 2017. Forrest's answer to the back and forth was, well, it's hidden in a pretty good place. It's difficult to find, but it certainly isn't impossible. If you're going to find the treasure, you're going to have to solve the riddle that's in my poem. The 9 clues that are in my poem. Nobody's going to happen on that treasure chest. So why would he say you're going to have to solve the riddle that's in my poem? And then why is he so confident that nobody's going to happen upon the treasure chest? And as we talked about in episode or part 2 of this Where Warm Waters Halt, theme videos, he's pretty sure nobody's within 200 feet. That's pretty accurate. What is that boundary that is stopping searchers, preventing searchers from moving within 200 feet of the treasure chest? Why is he so sure that no one's going to, happen upon the treasure chest? And what is this riddle that we must solve? It's the question I'm asking. It's what I'm here to do. All right. Playboy interview, September of 2018. Forrest responds, I'm a little bit surprised that it hasn't been found, but there's one thing, I think, important thing, that nobody has thought about on all the blogs. Nobody has thought about it. If they had thought about that, they might have found the treasure. And I'm very careful not to tell anybody what that thing is. But I've said a number of times, get back in the box. People are looking so far ahead they can't see what's laying in front of them. Now, the first thing that I think about when I read this quote is I've seen a number of YouTubers, a number of people. Like I said, I'm not on any of the blogs or any of the Facebook pages or Reddit or anything. I don't do any of it. I don't know what people are saying and what people aren't saying unless it's a handful of people, a dozen people or so that are on YouTube. But I've heard a number of people say, get back in the box. Forrest says, get back in the box. Stop being so imaginative, get back in the box. And I'm like, I don't think that's, of that quote that I just read from the Playboy interview, get back in the box is one of the least important phrases in all of that. To me. So I don't understand why everybody's saying, get back in the box, stop thinking this, whatever. I mean, it may be get back in the box, but he may be saying get back in the box because you need to get back into Colorado or Wyoming because those are the 2 boxiest states in the, in the United States. But I don't think I think he's just saying get back in the box because that's in reference to some of the crazier solves out there. And that's just a saying, get back in the box. I don't think it has anything to do with anything else. So what I think is really interesting about this, though, is that there's one thing that people aren't thinking. And what I think is fascinating is that he said that 2 years ago. Well, a year and a half ago at the filming of this video. He said there's one thing nobody's thinking about. And I don't see much evidence that people are saying, what am I not thinking about? Let's think about let me look on all the blog sites. Let me look on all these things and let me see what people are saying. And then let me try to think of something different than what is being thought or what is publicly being said. And that's what I think is important about this. It's not about getting back in the box. It's not about, looking so far ahead that they can't see what's lying in front of them, lying in front of them, or laying in front of them. As he said, it's that's important. I think to some degree, you're looking so far ahead. You're looking at the blaze. You're looking at something else. But there's something that we're not thinking about early on, whether it's Where Warm Waters Halt, whether it's the canyon, not far but too far to walk, or Homer Brown. Something in that second stanza is important that we're not thinking about. Now, does it connect clues 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it you have to think one thing, which people are doing to solve the first two clues, and then you have to think of something else? Is it a secondary thing, and that one thing that we're not thinking of, or that searchers aren't thinking of, is the change in thinking being adjustable? And that I don't know. I think there's something to be questioned there. But I would start with maybe there's something that runs through all of the clues, a theme, so to speak. And that one theme is not being talked about or thought about. And that's why searchers are showing up at the right spot. They maybe get to clue 2, but they can't get any further. And they may have solved the first 4 clues, but we're not sure. And that one is still throws me a little bit for a loop. So let's move on. Mysterious Writings, July 1st, 2014. I've quoted that before. Dear Forrest, you tell us that we should find Where Warm Waters Halt before trying to solve any of the other clues. Imagine that we haven't seen the rest of the poem, and all we have to go on is A, begin at Where Warm Waters Halt, and B, somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. Do you think that we can confidently determine the starting place for your treasure trail? Steve. Forrest says, no, if all you have to go on are those 2 clues, you cannot proceed with confidence. Look at it this way. If you were making a cake and you left out a few ingredients, would you achieve your goal? Your question reminds me of another. You leave home and walk a straight line for a mile. Turn 90 degrees and walk a curved line for a mile and shoot a bear. Then you turn 90 degrees left again and walk a straight line back to your home. What color is the bear? Now, for whatever that is worth, I think it's interesting that he says, if you're trying to make a cake and you left out a few ingredients, would you achieve your goal? Now, the question is, as I stated earlier with the quote, do you need to change your thought process after the first couple of clues? And that's why people are missing it, is because that same thread doesn't work throughout. And I would say this quote says no. This quote would say that there's some theme, there's some thread that connects all 9 clues. And if you're not thinking about that thing, if your goal isn't that right thing, then you're going to miss it, because you're going to miss those other clues because they don't fit in with that, whatever that one thing is. That's how I read that. And it's interesting because when he talks about the cake, that was 2014. When he talks about the ingredients, that's 2014. And then 4 years later, in 2018, he's talking about there's one thing that nobody's talking about for 4 years. I mean, that was 8 years after, but anyway. So I think it's interesting, right? So then a month later, on August 12th, 2014, Mysterious Writings again. The question is, someone unfamiliar with your poem receives a message that says, meet me where warm waters halt, somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe. Would they be able to work out where to go? If they can't, would they need the whole poem, another stanza, or just a line or word to help them on their way? Phil Bayman. F Squared's answer. There are few words in the poem that are not useful in finding the treasure, Phil, but it is risky to discount any of them. You oversimplify the clues. There are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt, and nearly all of them are north of Santa Fe. Look at the big picture. There are no shortcuts. Now, I think it's interesting because the first part of that, there are few words in the poem that are not useful in finding the treasure. It's risky to discount any of them, is not really what was asked. He said you oversimplify the clues, and I think what's interesting about oversimplifying the clues is looking at where warm waters halt in the mountains, somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe, is just totally focusing on hot waters, the springs, whatever. And he's saying you oversimplify the clues because that's not really where you're trying to get to, which leads us back to that thread that goes through all of the clues. And so he brings us back to there are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt. Nearly all of them are north of Santa Fe, but that's just not really what he's talking about. There's some thread, something that we need to be thinking that connects all of the clues, and we may get there in this video. We may have to do another one. Let's see what the time is on it. We'll see. We've got a little bit more. We'll probably end this one, and then we'll do the last one in part 4, and we'll make this a 4-part series. So I'll get to the last quote, and then some questions, and then we'll end it up, make it a shorter video today. Playboy interview again, September 2018. Forrest answers, so many searchers are stomping on the ants while the elephants run by. So we're stomping on the ants. We're worried about the little things. We're not looking at the big picture. Because if we were, we'd see the elephant. We'd see the big things. What is that big picture? What is that one thing that we're missing that we need to be thinking about? So Carter's questions for these quotes is, what is that riddle or one thing that connects all of the clues? If where warm waters halt and somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe aren't enough, then you must need all of the clues and whatever connects them all. What overarching story or riddle is correct? What are the solvers of the first 2 to 4 clues missing that made them walk right on past the treasure chest? So what is that big picture? And what is or are those elephants? So I think, we'll stop there. I think that's a great place to stop, just to kind of leave people and leave you all with, what are those things that we need to be thinking? How do we need to get back in the box, but yet be imaginative? I will, maybe one of these days I'll offer my own opinion as to what I think those are. But at this point, I'm as stumped as everyone else, but I think I want to focus on these details that I don't know that we're focusing on, that say, hey, talking about the same old things isn't getting us any closer. So there's some thread, there's a bigger picture here that we need to take into account. And so being able to, have conversations with more mature searchers or people that have been in the search, in this chase for 7, 8 years, 5 years, what have you, and getting their take. Okay, what have you tried? What are those things? I mean, that's something that I want to pursue as we move along, because I think that's going to be invaluable in trying to help us solve the riddle or find the treasure chest. So as always, I really I appreciate you watching each episode. And yeah, if you like, subscribe, do all that jazz. But I just really appreciate all the positive, the comments, and people that email me that want to, collaborate, whatever, come on the show. You're more than welcome. All you got to do is email me, Carter@HHDiaries, and love to chat with you and email. And have you on the show if you want to be on the show. If you don't, totally cool. You don't have to, say your name. Everything will stay anonymous. I'll totally not say anything if you don't want me to say anything. So you don't have to worry about any of that. But as always, thanks so much for watching this episode of the House Husband Diaries. Until tomorrow, I hope you all have a great day. Later.